what's up, everyone? I'm Rohan Lulla. You can find me on Instagram at Rohan.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Sports 2.0 show. I am Charles Boyd. You can find me at the Wildman _0429 and on Twitter at CharlieBoyd10.
Awesome. So let's dive into it. We have a lot to go through today. Let's start with a recap of March Madness. So we just finished up a great tournament, and UConn have been crowned champions. They beat San Diego State this past Monday night, and really showed that they were an impressive team this year.
Yeah, that was dominant from start to finish.
And wanted to introduce William as our first guest for this segment. Welcome, William.
Hi, how's it going, guys?
Welcome, Will. Good morning.
Yeah, so excited to talk about the Final Four. I know a lot of us are Miami fans, and so it was kind of a disappointing end to the tournament. But, man, UConn was impressive. You got to give them all the credit in the world.
Seriously, though, it was really heartbreaking to see that loss. The Canes had one of the hardest paths in March Madness history to reach the Final Four. A great win against Indiana, Houston, and then Texas. But yeah, UConn just looked like they outplayed us and just outmatched us in every side of the ball.
But what matters is that they gave it their best. But UConn is just more dominant. They've been dominant for decades now.
Yeah, so, I think the real reason that UConn really dominated the whole tournament pretty much is just that they're so much bigger than every team that they were playing. You look at Miami's biggest guys are probably Miller and Omier. And they're both fantastic players. And Omier, as big as he is, he pales in comparison to some of those big men on with the Huskies. So they were just bullying people the whole tournament, and it kept going right through the Final Four. They really did not. They really made easy work of both Miami and San Diego State, who were both fantastic teams in their own right. So they're a dominant team, and they have a future with those big men for sure.
No, I agree. And to kind of add on to your point, as dominant as Noah Chad has been, he is also 6'7" for a big man, which is kind of small on the smaller size. But he really did try his best in a lot of the games, and I thought he played excellent throughout the tournament. It's just that I think Adama Sanogo was just way better in that UConn game, and that UConn team was just totally better than Miami was on all fronts.
What I also noticed about it, I apologize if I'm gonna butcher his name here. Adama Sanogo he's a big physical presence. So if he comes back, I don't know his class rank, unfortunately, but if he does come back for the Huskies, he'll be a critical piece to an already championship team.
No, I agree. And also, got to shout out the Aztecs, San Diego State. They had one of the most iconic buzzer beaters I think we've seen, the only buzzer beater of the tournament to close the game out. So I thought, that was such a great game between San Diego State and FAU. And it was great to see San Diego State go through all the teams that they did and make it as a 5 seed to the finals.
Yeah, it looked like FAU was probably going to pull away in that game. They were really winning for, I think, the vast majority of the second half. And, that was an incredible buzzer beater. I was really hoping that a 5 seed was going to win it all this year, because that's the only top 8 seed that's never won the championship. So, with both Miami and San Diego State in it, I was hoping they'd face each other in the final and make it a guarantee that a 5 seed would win, but unfortunately not.
But that just goes to show you, like I always say in the time that I've been fortunate to be on here, never count out the underdog. They made it all the way to the final. I bet you 99.9% of brackets did not pick a San Diego State and FAU Final Four.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead. I finished. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I feel like in this tournament, if you had placed a bet on every underdog spread, you probably would have been more successful covering those than, choosing the favorite. So I thought that was pretty interesting with this tournament.
Yeah. it's never a great idea to bet on the ultimate favorite. I feel like the number one favorite hasn't won the championship in a while. Maybe Kansas was the ultimate favorite last year. But this year especially, I mean, it was evident that all these one seeds were a little bit weaker compared to usual. Bama and Houston were both very, very good, but you could tell they had flaws. And Bama, I think, was missing one of their star players for legal reasons. So, things were shaky this year for the top seeds, and that really opened the path towards for other teams. A lot of the underdogs making it, and as a result, we had the only Elite Eight in tournament history that did not feature a one seed. So
Yeah, and to add on, even the Final Four was the first time this year that no 1 through 3 seed had made the Final Four. So that was pretty impressive to see a complete underdog Final Four here. And also to just kind of add on, UConn was super impressive this tournament. They covered every single spread that they had. And they pretty much won every single game this tournament by 15 or more points, which is just truly impressive.
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, that really just goes to show how dominant that front court is. I mean, they just bully everybody. Everybody was so much smaller than them. Yasunogo, I forget his name, number 32. I think he came off the bench. He's also just a massive guy. So they were just bullying people, and I feel like in college, usually the much bigger teams are usually the ones that end up having a lot of success. Miami may have been overall more skilled than them, and maybe even San Diego State in terms of scoring ability and stuff. But in college, if you're big, you're going to be able to play really solid defense, and that's what's going to win you games in college. So, really interesting to see them, a 4 seed like that, make it all the way there. They probably should have been ranked higher going in.
I agree with that. It's a fair statement.
Before we move on to our next topic, I just want to give a shout out to the women's Final Four as well. Shout out to LSU for it was a great game against Iowa. Angel Reese played like a stud. Caitlin Clark did as well. So I just wanted to tip my cap to them as well.
So before we move on to the next segment, just wanted to ask you guys, what was your favorite game of the tournament?
Oof, it's tough to pick one. What about you, Will? What do you say?
Well, if I'm letting my Miami side, my Miami fan side speak, it's probably the Miami Texas game, just because of how big of a comeback it was. Overall, though, I'd say in terms of just overall enjoyment, I really liked that San Diego State versus FAU game. That was a really fun game to watch.
I did as well. I was gonna say that one. That one had me on the edge of my seat.
For me, I really enjoyed. There were 2 games in particular. One was Michigan State versus Kansas State at the Garden. That game went into overtime. I thought that was just such an unbelievable, complete game. And then another game I really did enjoy was UCLA Gonzaga. Again, another very complete college basketball game. One of the best of the tournaments that saw 2 super giants play each other. So I found that game super entertaining. Charles, do you have any favorite games?
I would say, just like Will said, like either the Texas Miami game or FAU San Diego State. It's a toss up for me. I really enjoyed both, but if I had to pick one, I would probably say Miami Texas, just because, like Will said, of the comeback and how it really showed you're never really down for the count. You can always work your way back up. That I think is a common theme in sports, and we saw an example of that in that game.
I agree. William, we wanted to thank you for joining on as a guest today.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was a lot of fun. I love talking about the Final Four, and good luck down the road.
Thank you. Let's speak soon.
Yep, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
And just so you know, you can all follow him if you're interested. It's at Will Berents on Instagram. So give him a follow. He's very knowledgeable.
Do you love betting on sports? Well, now you can show off your passion for sports betting at bettingsuperstore.com. Unique and original gear from t-shirts to hoodies to mugs and backpacks. BettingSuperstore.com is a lock to let everyone know you are the ultimate sports betting guru. Check it all out at BettingSuperstore.com. So now to transition a little bit from college basketball, let's get into Major League Baseball. The opening week is finally, it's been about over a week now since baseball's started off. So let's take it away.
Well, I'll start with you, Rohan, as a native New Yorker. What do you think about the New York team so far?
Well, as a big Yankee fan, I had the pleasure of going to my first game on Monday night. Got to see the Yankees started off against the Philadelphia Phillies, so that was pretty good. They won 8-1. Overall, the Yankees have been looking pretty solid. I mean, Garrett Cole in his first 2 games has looked super impressive. Probably one of the leading pitchers already in the AL. And overall, I mean, Judge just started off again on a hot note. 2 home runs so far. Stanton also 2 home runs. But one of the key players I'm seeing so far for the Yankees is actually Gleyber Torres. I think Gleyber Torres has been such an essential part so far of this team, and should expect to see a rise in his stock, I feel, this year. And then the Yankees also additionally have a lot of good younger players. Anthony Volpe, who just got called up, should be super impressive at shortstop. So it's going to be interesting to see how the season goes through.
Right. And I just want to give a shout out to Aaron Judge, still doing his thing. You know, I think Michael Kay said when he hit the home run, he picked up right where he left off, and that couldn't have even been more true.
No, exactly.
As for my Marlins, we're not doing very well. Our star players injured, but we did just come off 2 straight wins, so something is something. But I wanted to make a note specifically of the Tampa Bay Rays, who at last that I checked, they're 6-0, and that's the best start. I heard ESPN report that that's the best start since the Orioles in 2015. So at least something is going right in Florida.
Exactly. I mean, the Rays look exceptionally well so far. I mean, Wander Franco's turning into a superstar already, making a case for top shortstop right now in the league. And I would say, you know, Tampa has one of the best pitching rotations right now in the league. They look super good and pose a big threat right now in the AL East for the Yankees and the other teams there. So, you know, watch out for Tampa. I really do think they'll be a hot team for the rest of the season, and they seem like they have a good chemistry right now.
Yeah. Now here's my question for you, and I'll answer it as well. Your way too early World Series prediction. Who do you got?
Way too early. Oof. That's tough. I mean,
I know it's only been a week, but
you know, in the AL, I think there's only 2 strong teams, just like last year, and I think either one of these teams is going to come out again. It's going to come down to the Yankees or Houston. I'm going to be biased and go Yankees a little bit here. I think that the roster has upgraded, their pitching is upgraded. So once fully healthy, we should see them come to life. So my NL team actually is the Atlanta Braves this year. I think Atlanta has such a complete team at the moment. I have some interesting future bets I wanted to throw out there on the Atlanta Braves. But overall, I mean, Atlanta has a dominant pitching rotation, and all their starting lineup on the batting side just is incredible, starting with Acuna, who I believe has the best shot of winning the NL MVP this year. He started off the year on a great note. Great hitter, super good at stealing bases. So the books have Acuna leading home runs this season at plus 2,700, which I think is really good odds. I think those are favorable and give a good shout basically. And then another guy I think who could lead in home runs, the books have him at plus 1,000, is Yordan Alvarez. I think Yordan has already looked super impressive with his home runs, and I think he takes it up a notch this year.
As for my pick, I would say I'm gonna go along your lines. I would say either the Mets or the Yankees. We would have a Subway Series as a World Series.
Interesting take. I don't know about the Mets, but we'll see how things unfold for them.
I was gonna say the reason why I think that is because you have Pete Alonso, you have Francisco Lindor, you have these players that can produce as well as valuable hitters, and so do the Yankees as well as you were mentioning Gleyber Torres and Aaron Judge. So I think it'll be tight, but we'll see a Subway Series.
Yeah, and another hot NL team I want to kind of talk about, who I think could compete pretty well against the Braves, are the San Diego Padres this year. I think the Padres are going to be one of the best teams in baseball. They have an all-star caliber of a lineup right now, and Xander Bogaerts has already started his season off with 3 home runs and is looking incredible in a Padres uniform.
Right, and just to back up your point, Manny Machado as well. And do they have Fernando Tatis?
Yes, Tatis should be returning back around April 20th this year. So it'll be interesting to see once Tatis returns, because his role as shortstop will most likely move to the outfield now that Xander Bogaerts is filling in that spot. So Tatis's return should prove to be a big help for this Padres team that went to the NL semifinals last year.
Like we said, everyone, this is all predictions. So when this gets uploaded, please don't crucify us in the comments.
Any other teams you think have good potential for this year?
I would say the Marlins, but that hasn't been relevant for about 20 years now. So I would say either the Astros or the Yankees, just like you said.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see the Astros. They have really good players still. I think Jordan is going to take that big leap this year and be a leader, especially while Altuve is going to be out for the next 2 months. And then I have some other low-key teams. I mean, not low-key teams, but like potential wildcard teams that I could see in the mix. I think the Cardinals are a great team. The partnership between Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado is one of the best duos in baseball right now. Both are magnificent hitters, so I can see some good things happen with that team.
Another sleeper team that I forgot to mention is the Minnesota Twins. How about them? They'll
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see them, but I have another divisional rival that I think might have a better season than them, and that's the Chicago White Sox. I think the White Sox have a really great bullpen right now at the moment, with Dylan Cease leading the way. He had a great game yesterday. And then they also have some pretty good all-around hitters. Their fielding is great, so watch out for the Chicago White Sox this year.
And not only that, their roster's loaded with talent as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be exciting to see.
And then kind of diving into the AL West right now, you have some really good young teams there. Starting off with the Mariners. The Mariners have taken a step further. They just made a playoff last year, led by superstar Julio Rodriguez, who's turning into one of the leading faces of baseball right now. Their lineup looks great, and so does their pitching at the moment. So watch out for the Mariners. They are currently listed at plus 110 to make the playoffs. Not the best odds, but I think those are also some favorable odds for them to make the wild card.
But not the best odds, like you said, Brett. Hey, there's a long way to go. There's a reason why I said way too early, and we're just giving no predictions. So there's a long way to go.
Yeah, and then a team I'm really hoping can do well and is filled with, I think, two of the best players in baseball, or some of the best players, are the Angels, led by Mr. Shohei Ohtani and Mike Trout. Shohei has already started off the season just unbelievable as one of the best two-way players in the world. His pitching games have been pretty good so far. He went 2 days with back-to-back homers over the weekend. So Shohei is making a case for, both an AL MVP here and potentially a Cy Young. He could have that kind of a year. He's on a contract year and has a potential to make history with his next contract. People are saying that it could go to $500 million or up. for whatever team wants to sign him next.
I don't know about Cy Young yet, but he's certainly close. Sandy is on his tail. Alcantara, the pitcher for the Marlins.
Oh, I don't know if he has to worry that much about Alcantara. Alcantara's out in the NL, the other division. But I mean, with Alcantara, also you can kind of see him fall back to life this year. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with that. And then going to another strong pitching team in that division, the Texas Rangers are low-key a sleeper team, in my opinion. They have some good pieces. The new addition of Jacob deGrom has already proved to be pretty lethal for them. He showcased a great game yesterday. And then between Marcus Semien and Corey Seager, I think that, they're slowly trying to pick things up again in Arlington.
Right. I agree. I can't wait to see how it plays out.
And then another pretty strong team that I see leading the AL East this year are the Toronto Blue Jays. I think, again, the Toronto Blue Jays have a great pitching lineup right now, and they also all their batters are just unbelievable, led by Vlad Guerrero, Bo Bichette. They lost Teoscar Hernandez, who did prove to be super efficient for them. But I do think that, even as a Yankee fan, I will admit that the Blue Jays could take the division this year, just because I think they're a complete team at the moment.
They're going to be a scary sight. They made if I'm not mistaken, they made the playoffs last year, right?
Oh, yes, they did.
So like, I would say expect for them to build off of that success. That is.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then another big team we kind of didn't mention here, the LA Dodgers. So, I mean, another superstar-filled team. However, I do see some cracks with this team this year. I do have the Padres ahead of them in the standings when it's all said and done. But, I mean, the superstar-filled lineup, they had an incredible game. So it'll be interesting.
And like you said, they're to use a phrase you were using earlier, their team is lethal as well. Albeit, like you said, there's some cracks in the foundation. They have Clayton Kershaw. They have Mookie Betts in the outfield. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they have Corey Seager as well.
No, Corey Seager went to the Rangers.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. See, that's a good thing about live TV. You learn live web show. You learn new things.
I agree. Yeah. No, exactly. It's all about learning from one another. But yeah, I think overall the Dodgers will be an interesting one to see. I don't know if they'll make it that far again this year, but they're always a favorite every year, so it should be interesting to see how that plays out.
It will be. Like we said, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I do want to reiterate, there's still about a few good months to go. We have until October, so it'll be fun to revisit this come October.
Yeah, I mean, baseball's such a long season. You never know what's going to happen, and it's going to be an interesting road to fall ball. So can't wait to see how it goes.
That's why they call it the show. You can expect the unexpected.
So just to conclude this, let's kind of go through some of our picks for the end of the year. So we went through our World Series prediction. So do you have an AL and NL MVP choice that you think?
For the AL, I would say, stomach. For the NL, I would probably say, I can't think of a specific player right now, but if I had to pick, I would probably say probably one of the pitchers in the league, because that league, as we know, has dominant pitchers. So I'm sure either one of them will take it.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. For me, in the AL MVP race, I do have Shohei winning it. I think Shohei Ohtani, like I said, he's on a contract year where he could sign a lot. And also the way he's playing both pitching and batting, I think is unmatched compared to anyone else. Last year, I believe that if Aaron Judge did not hit 62 home runs, Ohtani would have been a clear case to bring home that MVP. So I think this year we could see Shohei do it again. And then for my NL MVP, I do have Ronald Acuna of the Atlanta Braves. I think that this is the year where Acuna takes it up and steps up his game with this team. So it'll be interesting to see if Acuna can actually live up to those expectations this year.
And especially after coming off that injury, he's gonna have a lot to prove.
Oh, exactly.
And for your point on Shohei, it also helps that he's fresh off of winning the World Baseball Classic,
right?
Team Japan. So,
also, just want to throw out there that I think the World Baseball Classic was a fantastic way to get the season going off. Added a lot of hype going into opening week. And then kind of just last thing I wanted to touch on was, I got to see the pitch clock for the first time in person. And I have to say, seeing the pitch clock in person versus on TV makes a huge difference. I found that the pitch clock does make the game a lot better. It makes it faster. And it does make it more enjoyable to watch. So, watch out for the pitch clock. I'm sure we'll be talking a lot more about that as we see it unfold in the next few weeks.
Right. These new rules are already proving to be effective. Just the other day, down here in Miami, Sandy pitched a complete game in an hour and 57 minutes.
Oh, sorry. Can you repeat how much time did he complete did he finish his complete game in?
Sandy pitched a complete game in an hour and 57 minutes.
Wow. That's very impressive, because usually games are 3 hours or a little less than 3 hours.
That certainly, I'm sure that was very beneficial to the people in the stadium who had to go to work the next morning.
I agree. But yes, we want to thank you guys for watching this week's show. Charles, I had a great time chatting about March Madness and recapping for baseball. So we look forward to having another show next week.
See you next week, guys. And as always, if you like what we do, if you want to hear more from us, you can follow us, me at the Wildman_0429 and Rohan at Rohan.Lulla. I'm also on Twitter at CharlieWood10. See you next week, guys.
Thanks, guys.